thank you everyone for being here and joining NeuroTalent Works for this webinar that we are providing on how to optimize your job search. And for anyone who's new to NeuroTalent Works, we are a nonprofit organization that partners with companies on all things neurodiversity inclusion. So we've been doing a lot of training for employers, coaching for neurodivergent professionals, and ultimately our hope is to bring more neurodivergent job candidates to employers and to bridge the employment gap. A lot has changed and shifted in the last couple of years for our organization, so we're going to provide some updates there. We know that our website needs to be updated also with some of our services just to make it clearer of how we're supporting job candidates. So that's why we're hosting this webinar today. And for some of you, we hosted one for parents on Monday. So hopefully we might have some parents on today as well.
Sure.
But we just welcome this as a community conversation and as a way for all of you to meet each other as well, because we know that finding a job can be a really lonely process and discouraging at times. So the second half of this will be an open office hour where you'll be able to meet each other. We'll turn the recording off. You can ask questions and really have more of an open conversation. So I guess I should introduce myself also. I'm Jessica Lee. I'm co-founder and executive director of NeuroTalent Works. And yeah, just really grateful to have you all with us today. And I'll hand it to my colleague Danielle for her introduction.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Jessica. My name is Danielle. I'm the talent program manager at NeuroTalent Works. So I support our neurodivergent job seekers that come to us really at any stage of the process, from the job search to interview preparation and accommodations, and coaching as well after receiving a job. So I'm excited to get into the specific stage, which is job searching today, and hopefully offer some support and be here for questions and just community time too.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's get
All
into it.
right. So, what is first just jumping right into the most common advice that we've been giving to job candidates? I've been attending a lot of HR conferences this last year just to get a sense of, what's happening in human resources and what's going on, especially with AI. And so this is the advice that I've been giving most. And the first one here is that relationships really matter and to not rely on online applications. Danielle will share a statistic, but I'll just beat her to the
Go
punch here
ahead.
real quickly of just that of all online applications, only 2% of people get jobs through online applications. The other 88% is not from an online application, which is most likely people that you've met, people that you know. Meeting someone in person is still going to increase your chances of getting a job. And unfortunately, that's just the way that it's always been and that it continues to be right now, that relationships matter. So we're going to give some advice of how you could start to build some of those relationships. The second piece of advice, to build a paced and an iterative system. And we'll be sharing a job tracker, a very simple one that we've created, and also some tools that are online that might be helpful for you. And the key word here is paced and iterative. We know that it is a long process, so to make sure to take care of yourself, and it can be really discouraging. So pace yourself as you need to, and then iterate. If you've been doing the same strategy for months, to try something new, and hopefully we'll give you a couple ideas today. The third one is to really apply with intention and to target your fit for the roles, not just the titles. That the skills, there are some really key skills that are needed for some jobs, and to target and customize your resume to every single position. I just had someone share with me that she's been using AI to help her tailor her resume for every single job that she's applying to, and that has helped her get interviews. The key here is we don't want you to lie or to put, skills that you don't have. That is definitely not what you should do. But you do want to look at the keywords that are being asked on these job descriptions, and you do want those on your resume. And I think we'll get into some of this later, but before I forget it, one thing that you can do is if there are skills that you're seeing on every single job application and you're like, I don't have that skill. If you go and take a LinkedIn course or a Microsoft course on that particular skill, then add that certificate or that skill to your resume. And unfortunately, it is a system that is reading your resume and filtering things. And so that's where AI can really be helpful because we know that can be such a time-consuming task to do. So, next slide. What is happening in the job market? This is what we are observing and what we're learning in our conversations with HR leaders right now. The first is that, the market is just not in a stable place. And there are a lot of AI investments that are happening in companies. What that means is that a lot of hiring is paused, and companies are looking to see what AI can do within the company first before they look to hire more people, and to see what kinds of roles they're going to need. I think the important signal here, though, is that your skills in AI will be very important for most jobs that you are applying to. Because companies right now, employees inside the companies already working there, are being asked to adopt and use AI as much as they can to take the processes of how things are done in the company, build processes for what AI can do. And jobs are shifting towards now managing the quality of what the AI process is, considering how to map it out differently. And so your skills in AI are going to be important when you're in an interview. I would encourage you in interviews first to learn AI prompting skills. But second, that when you're in interviews, to talk about how you are learning and using AI, what you see as potential opportunities, because that's what companies are wanting to hear and wanting to hire into now, is they need people who are going to come in and adopt the AI technology that they're investing in.
Yeah,
There's
Jessica, I
still
just I just heard a quote last night too from and it might have been in the past, but it was a popular CEO and he said AI is not going to replace humans, but humans who use AI are going to replace those who don't. So that's huge. We do need to be looking into this and learning how to use it for job placements. So, sorry, I saw that last
no,
night
I'm so
online
glad.
and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you bring that up. And I actually think so many neurodivergent minds are the best minds to be
Okay.
understanding AI and
There's
adding
some place where
value
you,
to
you where
something
you
that's
don't have to
really
see a
complex.
picture. It's go to
Sorry, we're gonna put everyone on mute.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Danielle. So
Mhm.
definitely, and the teaser from our organization is that we plan to host a training on AI in the next few months, so that you can start to learn and build some of those skills as well with one of our AI consultants. Um, so that is really what's happening in companies right now and why you see slower hiring. It is slow and it's very competitive in hiring right now, especially at the really large Fortune 500 companies. This is where we see the slow and pause to no hiring right now because of the AI investments. And so we'll get into our encouragement to look at small, medium businesses right now also. We do know that ghosting is a problem that's still happening where you just don't hear back or you don't hear anything uh, unfortunately, just want you all to know we hear this from every single job candidate we work with. So you are not alone in that. And we know it is not, it just sucks. And yeah, so just know that you're not the only one experiencing that. And then we know that there are additional barriers that many of our candidates face sometimes. And so we just want to acknowledge that. Um, the high growth areas to watch, though, and this comes from the US Department of Labor as they project the industries of growth over the next of these 10 years. Um, Clean energy and power generation has one of the highest growth percentages you see here of the 180%. This is geothermal energy. This is wind. This is solar. We're in California, so we know on the West Coast, and I think some on the East are doing a lot of investments in clean energy. But we would encourage looking at these industries because we know that there's growth happening in these industries. And that's also small and medium businesses for anybody who is okay in like maybe a faster pace. Startups that are in the space, those are places to look. We still see a lot in IT of data scientists, information security, especially like cybersecurity and that type of, because of the world we're living in with AI and technology. And then we see a really big boost in healthcare. So services for elderly and people with disabilities, occupational therapists, and then just healthcare and social assistance in general. And then the computing infrastructure is there as well. So these are the industries that we would recommend taking a closer look at because of the growth and the investments that are being made in these industries, which then signal most often that there's going to be more hiring in these industries as well. So some tools to leverage. Danielle's going to go over these more in depth later, but she's chosen out some of like the favorite ones that we use and that we're recommending most often. Under the AI support, Hunter and Teal and JobScan, which I think, Danielle, you were saying they also help you tailor your resume and organize your search.
Not JobScan, but Hunter and Teal are kind
Okay.
of, yeah, all inclusive with AI embedded within them, where so that you're not just going back and forth between just an AI agent like ChatGPT or Claude. It organizes your job search and provides that AI language for your resume.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
They're great. So definitely take a look at those. And we will, I should have said this early, we will send a copy of this presentation to you. So in case it helps you to listen, we'll have this recorded as well. So just know that this will be sent out in the next couple of days. Then for resume submission, Mentra and Inclusively are two that focus on neurodivergent candidates. We always encourage you to have your resume in multiple places, and their databases are a great place to go to. Same with Ability Jobs. And the ND Career Connector that Microsoft runs with an employer roundtable of companies that are all that all have neurodiversity programs or did. And so that's a great place to go as well. And then job platforms, LinkedIn, I would say is a requirement now as a job candidate. And there's so much to leverage in LinkedIn. I've been talking a lot to people about LinkedIn groups. And I would recommend if you have a very niche, like interest or background in a career to go look at LinkedIn groups for that particular niche. I was just talking to somebody who wants to do anti-money laundering, which is a very specific part of finance and banks. And he really loves the investigative part of money laundering. And so we went into LinkedIn and under groups, there are groups about anti-money laundering. And when we went in, there were actually people posting jobs. And so if there is something that's really niche to what you're doing, go search for that in LinkedIn and start following and being part of that community. And again, making those relationships. And then just standard organization tools like Excel, Google Suite, and Trello. Okay, so that's our really high level, just some of the state of where things are right now in hiring. Um, the question that we get asked often, and if you're new to us, of what does NeuroTalent Works offer for job candidates, and what are your services? So this has shifted over the last year, unfortunately, due to funding cuts that were made at the federal level. It had a trickle down effect to all nonprofits. And so we've had to scale back some of our services. Um, from the beginning until now, we continue to be a neurodiverse talent pool for companies. We work differently than most agencies. So we are not a one-on-one placement agency where we have like white glove service to go and help you find a job. It's kind of the backwards approach. We're trying to go find companies who want to invest in neurodiversity inclusion, who want to know what it means to embrace all types of minds. And then when they hire with us or their job opportunities that they staff for through us, then we reach out when we see that you might be a fit to one of those jobs. So we still do encourage and want to have your resume in our database, because anytime we see opportunities, we will send them to you if it's a match. So the services that we are offering, though, are in more group settings. Webinars like these, the group training that we plan to pilot on AI literacy, prompting, how people are leveraging AI as neurodivergent job candidates, as neurodivergent professionals. Yeah, that's a training that we're planning to do in the next second half of this year. So that's to come. We are also, as some of you might know, we did a training program in the insurance industry the last couple of years. We're now replicating that in the healthcare industry in Orange County, and then civic sector jobs in Los Angeles County. So we are based in Southern California. So these programs are starting in Southern California. There are other states that have started approaching us about replicating them. So if you know anyone, we're always appreciative of introductions. But those are programs that we'll be sharing more about in the coming months as well. And then being in our resume database, you also will get our newsletter, which has opportunities from time to time. And these job opportunities are not just from us, they're also from our peers around the country that are in neurodiversity employment and staffing, and any resources that we come across that are helpful. With our one-on-one services, which we used to do resume feedback and interview preparation, we have had to pause because of the funding cuts. However, we are exploring starting those again, but for a fee. We never wanted to charge our community for these services, but we want to just see if there's interest in that. So at the end, we're going to ask a survey if you would have interest in that, then it's something that we might be considering. And we really want to hear from you, from the community, of like, what do you need from us? And so we'll send a survey for that at the end. And also, if you have any questions as we're going through this, yeah, feel free to type them into the chat, but we'll get to them at the end.
Yes, absolutely. Get those down. Another common question that we get, where do I start with my job search and how do I stay organized throughout the process? Okay, so I really believe that the best place to start, even if you've already started, is going back to self-reflect so that you're narrowing your focus in and applying intentionally. So roles, what are the job titles that you're targeting? We want to write those down and research them again too, so that you really know what they entail. So you know if you need to skill build a little bit more, you know how to tailor your resume better. We need to be looking at those job titles and understanding them. What are your goals? Are you applying for a career job associated with your degree, or are you applying to more of a short-term job to earn money and build skills? And both of those are okay too. Environment. Do you want a really fast-paced environment, or do you need more of a quiet space? Do you enjoy more team-based work, or do you like independent work? All of these questions you can ask yourself so that you know where the best fit for you. Is it going to be a part-time, full-time? Are you open to relocation? Or are you looking for more local or remote jobs? Start asking yourself these questions so that you can self-reflect and apply intentionally. So that's number one. Next, I would really recommend using a simple system or a job tracker. So Jessica mentioned today that we'll be providing a job tracker that I'll show you at the very end, and it's very simple. There's other ones out there, and even obviously on Indeed and most job search platforms, you can now have a list of all the jobs you've applied for. You can archive jobs that you wish to apply for. So that's all great, but I do want to show you this tracker today that we've built out because I feel it organizes your jobs in a very simple way. And then you can choose the status of each job, whether you've applied, whether you need to research more, whether you have an interview, and then you can choose the next step for each job as well. So this is going to keep you really organized. It's going to keep the process streamlined so that you know what you need to do for each job. And you can keep a consistent list of jobs you want to apply for and you have applied or interviewed for. So I'll show you that at the end today, and we'll be sending it out to each of you as well. So stay consistent. And when I say this, I do not mean apply for 40 jobs in 1 week and then feel burnt out and unproductive for the next 2 weeks. That's not what we want to do. So but I know that that can happen, but a stronger approach is to build a rhythm. So that's going to include these three things every week: networking, applying, and skill building. So I'm going to talk in more specifics about networking on the next slide and really clear examples of how I want you to start doing that. But just to break it down first, networking is not just forcing yourself into awkward conversations. It's just building relationships, and it's a skill. It's not a personality trait. So I know it could be easy for you to just say, I'm not that type of person. I can't reach out to people like that. Because I myself would be the person inclined to say that as well. But because it's a skill, not a personality trait, it can be built over time. So I want you to try to lean into this and even just some small examples of what networking can look like. Joining one of those LinkedIn groups Jessica talked about and posting on it, attending a virtual meetup or job fair, messaging someone who works for a company you like, or even just messaging a former professor or classmate or family friend to see if they know about any opportunities or to get advice. So this is a great way to start your networking. I do know that as neurodivergent individuals, networking can sometimes feel uncomfortable because of that really deep social aspect of it. So I recognize that, and I do want to recommend just making it structured and low pressure. So for your weekly goal, you could set a goal of messaging 2 people on LinkedIn and maybe finding one virtual job fair event that you just attend in the beginning. That would be an amazing place to start. Okay, next, applying. To stay organized, we want to set a goal for applying as well. So if you are in a full-time job search, then maybe 5 to 10 thoughtful applications per week where the resume is totally tailored to the role is a really good place to be at. So again, not those 40 jobs in 1 week. I know everything changed when Indeed added that apply instantly button, right? Where we can load in our resume. I remember when it didn't used to be like that, but you can load in your resume, you can just apply instantly to each job, but that is not the proper strategy to be using. We really want to tailor to each job role, which again, I'll talk about on the next slide. Skill building. This is going to help you stay really competitive in the meantime while you search. So if you keep reading about the same type of software or certification or skill on these job descriptions that you're reading, instead of feeling really discouraged, like, oh, I don't have that, let's try to build it if it's attainable. So there are courses out there like Coursera, Google Grow, Microsoft Learning. Those are websites that you can research and go and find certificates that you can get. Even self-learning on YouTube is huge. Maybe it's just practicing Excel. Learning a new data tool, improving your interview skills. That's also skill building. Building your own website or a portfolio project that will tell hiring managers more about yourself. Learning LinkedIn, which is a whole skill. That self skill building is also going to help you have something to talk about during your networking time also, and interviews. I'd say it's big to talk about skill building during interviews. So using better tools, I know we've talked a little bit about, we had the slide of tools that you can leverage. Definitely research and look into some of those. I will say AI should not replace your thinking. We don't want anyone just copying and pasting generic answers into their applications or their resume. And nowadays, hiring managers can generally tell when it's completely AI generated. So I would avoid that. But you can absolutely use AI like ChatGPT or Claude to help you with parts of the job search. So, for example, first, it can help you understand job descriptions and postings, which are just notoriously long and vague, which is one of the things Jessica tries to help companies with too, is making job descriptions that are more clear and inclusive. But you can paste that job description into ChatGPT or Claude and ask, what are the top skills this employer is looking for? Or which parts of my background should I highlight during or on my resume or during an interview? It can also help you tailor your resume. So you want to be careful here because with AI, it can sometimes try to invent experience that you don't have. So we want to be proofreading anything it's giving us and more so using certain language and, uh, you know, reorganizing it ourselves so that it's not inventing experience that you don't have. It's just elevating and strengthening your wording to get a closer match to the job descriptions and qualifications that a job might be looking for.
Yeah, I really
Okay.
want to
Yeah,
emphasize
please.
that, Danielle.
Yeah.
There are hiring managers I've been talking to who've said like they can tell when a resume
Yes.
looks fake and they get a lot of fake resumes. So if yours looks fake, they're gonna overpass you.
Mhm.
So I really want to emphasize this point. Do not just stick it in the system and send it. You
Yeah.
really need to still put some thought into it and make sure it's really reflective of you. It still sounds like you. The
Hmm.
worst thing that can happen as an interviewer, as I've been one myself, is I read somebody's resume or their cover letter, and then they come into the interview with me and they sound completely different. We
Yeah.
can tell.
Yeah.
So, um, still keep, yeah, the human is still here. And the managers on the other side are wanting that too. So just
Mhm.
to make sure to be mindful of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So AI can also help you with interview prep. So you can ask it to generate common interview questions for the specific job that you'll be interviewing for, and then even get feedback from on your answers. I know there's even AI tools now, like one is Final Round AI, and it's mock interviews with realistic interview avatars that ask you questions and respond to you. So that can be something to look into. I would still say a human being is much more preferred. Like ask your mom, ask your sibling or your roommate if they can help you prep for an interview. I do think that that's better. Um, but there are options out there for AI tools that can help you during interviews. Just to mention too, there are options now for like during your interviews embedding AI, where it's a live AI during your interview that's going to give you answers to any questions they ask, do not, go there. We want genuine answers during your interviews. Most of the time, people can tell when you're just reading from a script that was made by AI or you're not answering genuinely. So I think with this world of AI hitting us like a ton of bricks, we just want to be careful with where we go with it.
I do
And
want,
last, yeah, go ahead.
sorry, Danielle, to
That's
add
okay.
something there though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There are some companies that are investing in AI as the first phone interview with you.
Oh,
So
wow.
as you get, yeah, I've
Yeah.
done a demo myself and gave feedback because I am public speaking all the time and I was nervous interviewing with an AI agent. And then I
Yeah.
said, hey, there's a lot of bias in here. I'd love to tell you more about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get a first round interview, and you're with a really big tech company, I would ask them, should I be prepared for an interview with a live person, or is this going to be a technology-based interview? And if it is technology based, then definitely go practice with those AI
Yeah.
avatars just to make sure that you feel comfortable, because it feels different too. So if you get a first round interview, that's a question that you can ask to help you prepare to do well. Because I would hope they tell you, but I don't know that every
I
company
would hope
does.
so too.
I
Yeah,
know.
that is different.
Yes.
Um, and lastly, it can help you with networking messages. So drafting up any short emails or replies if you just really feel stuck, it can help you feel a little unstuck. Okay. Next question, which we get a lot because of this ghosting problem. I'm applying to jobs but not getting responses. Why? And what do I do? So this is very common and usually not personal. It happens to everyone. And according to some studies now, anywhere from 70 to 85% of jobs are actually filled through networking and who you know. That's a lot. Meanwhile, those online job applications have an average success rate of only 2%. So that's really low. So I know this is hard to hear, but with these numbers, instead of dedicating 100% of our time to applying online, we need to completely change the strategy. The job search should really be more like 80% networking and 20% applying online. Because while applications feel really good to hit send and feel like you accomplished that, they're not getting us the results that we want. So if up to 85% of jobs are through who you know and word of mouth, where even there's a hidden job market where it's like almost 70% of jobs are not even posted online. We need to be going out and searching for those and asking people or getting to know people that might have connections to some of these jobs. So yeah, let me give you some examples of changing the strategy and just letting you know what networking could look like. So joining and engaging in those LinkedIn groups or even webinars will be huge. So like Jessica said, if you have something niche, go look it up on LinkedIn groups and see if you can find a group and start talking to people in it. Attend job fairs. There's virtual ones, there's in-person ones. Jobfairx.com, which Jessica is going to put into the chat, is a good place to start and looking for ones in your area. Also, any conferences that might be in your area or online or networking events. There's meetup.com, which Jessica will also put in the chat. That's a great place to start for virtual or in-person meetups in your area where you can find like-minded individuals or maybe alumni from your college or people interested in the same things you are. And this is how we start building that networking skill and asking around if, there's jobs. Also reaching out to former colleagues or bosses, professors, mentors. These people could be an opening to a job or company. Connect with the other alumni from your university groups too. That can be huge. But we do still need to be applying. of course. So let's talk about some things that can at least maybe get you better results. Tailoring your resume. Okay, most jobs, especially at bigger companies now, are using uh, like the ATS, the application processing system, to scan your resume and filter it out if it's not a high enough match to the job description. So what that means is we need those keywords from the job description, each specific job description, on your resume so that you're not being filtered out by a robot before a human even reads your resume. So I will say that every single job you apply to, you should be reading that job description, pulling out keywords and editing your resume to match it more closely. And again, you can use AI, like JobScan is one that just does that resume match. Hunter or Teal do that as well. Some of these, like Hunter and Teal, they have like a free subscription for a time, and then there is at times like a paid portion of it that you do need to pay. So keep that in mind. I know that yeah, a lot of things out there are beginning to have pay scales for job searching. Please apply to small and medium-sized businesses too. I feel that so many people are focusing on the big company name and wanting to be at these huge companies like Apple or Dell. But those job applications are so crowded, like thousands of applicants for one job. So please research those small and, even better yet, local businesses in your area, because a lot of them need people from all different backgrounds. They have a lot of different jobs that you could be the one to fill. And yeah, instead of just applying for the job and forgetting about it, we can try to find a hiring manager or a recruiter from that company and messaging them on LinkedIn, or finding an email and emailing them. So I would say don't stop at applying. Go and research that company, research people that work there, and then send them a short message. So just as an example of what reaching out could sound like, hi, my name is blank. I recently applied for this job and wanted to reach out. I'm really interested in the position and would love to be considered. Please let me know if there's anything else I could share. Thanks. So even sending a message like that is going to set you apart. Or maybe if you haven't even applied, but one of the networking goals that you want to set is just reaching out to people at companies you're interested in. Hi, person. I'm exploring roles like this and saw you work at this company. I'd love to hear about your experience if you're open to sharing. So people love talking about themselves. If you can get someone to talk about their experience or their job, that's a great way to get to know someone at a company that you're interested in working at. Okay. Next
Sorry,
question.
Danielle, before you move on from that for networking,
Yes.
I also want to add here that I know we've talked a bit about this already, but staying local to where you are to go meet people in person is what's going to be the most effective way to actually get an interview. I can't emphasize this enough because, for me, even as someone who hires, you want to hire somebody that you feel that you can trust. And if you go to, there are more events now in person that are happening. Whether it's a conference about data science or it's whatever interest that you have, going to those conferences of the type of industry and job role that you're looking to apply for, that's going to be the most effective way to build relationships because it's humans meeting each other, feeling like they can trust this person, and then wanting to further a conversation about possible work, or at least to have that relationship that you can stay in touch with. We were just talking to somebody who lives in Cupertino in Silicon Valley, and we said, hey, go to the startup events, go to the events that are being hosted at these companies. That's where you're going to meet people who also want to be meeting other people. And so, again, we know it's networking is not the most comfortable thing for any of us. It's a skill that you'll just need to learn for this period of time
Yeah.
as you're looking for a job. And if you don't, sometimes it's a little too direct to just say, hey, I'm looking for a job. A good way to build a relationship with someone, as Danielle had said, is to ask for advice. Ask them to share about what their career journey was to get to this position that they're in, what advice they might have for you, because you know that hiring is slower right now. People will just connect with you when you have very human questions.
Mhm.
So the best way is if you can go meet people in person. Um, and then, even for me, I go to these events a lot, and my goal now is to just make one meaningful connection because it can feel so overwhelming. But if I'm like, I just want to like meet one person, and sometimes it's outside because it's too overstimulating inside and there's no windows, and I'm like, I need to go get fresh air outside. And there's other people out there wanting to get fresh air, and that's what we connect on. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's so nice to be outside. And they're like, I know, right? And then you start talking. So find the people, right, who are naturally just maybe more like you, that you'll find at these events too. So just some advice from what I've learned and what we're doing now too. Um, but yeah, we know people are not getting hits, where when you can connect with people
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
person.
Another helpful one that's not on here is informational interviews
Yeah.
are a great place to start. So that's flipping it, and you're the one interviewing someone else about their job role in order to get more information. And you can email people at companies or even people you know and say, hey, I'd love to interview you about your job. I'm just interested in learning more about this industry and in what you do on a daily basis, and then go and use AI in order to say, hey, I need informational interview questions for this type of job role, and now these questions are ready for you, and you can hear answers and then make that connection with someone new. So yeah, absolutely, those are great. Next one here.
Okay, yes. Another question we get of what are common accommodations that are requested during the hiring process, and should I ask for them?
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. So first, what is an accommodation? A workplace accommodation or an interview accommodation is any equitable and as an essential adjustment that would remove barriers for you to be considered as a fair candidate for a position. This is protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act. And some companies, when you request an accommodation for an interview, they may require a medical note. And the medical note does not say, what your diagnosis is, but the medical note would say this person has a condition to which these specific accommodations will be necessary for an interview. So some examples of the one that we advocate for the most with companies is having the interview questions in writing. So if you might have an auditory processing delay, where when you hear a question, your mind needs a little more time to provide a thoughtful response. That having interview questions in a written format is going to allow you to equitably perform in the interview to somebody who may not have a diagnosis or condition. That's the legal definition of what an accommodation is. There are two ways that you could ask for these accommodations. One would be a formal email request, which is an actual formal accommodation request. And most companies will then possibly ask you for additional steps to support the request. Or you could also ask for it without disclosing. And it can just be a conversation at the beginning or of like, I perform best when. So if you do need just a little more time to respond when someone's asked you a question, that you can just say that up front of like, hey, my mind takes a little bit longer to process information that I'm hearing. So after you ask an interview questions, you might feel me pause for a little bit. It's just my time to think a little bit more before I provide an answer. Saying that to an interviewer, we've had people do that to us in our interviews, and we are so appreciative of it. It shows your confidence, it shows your self-knowledge, it shows that you will ask for what you need to do your best work. And that can be something that really people appreciate. And that way you don't have to feel like you have to disclose. The right people to ask is usually the HR person who is leading this hiring process, the hiring manager themselves, or the interviewer, depending on what format you use. The interview questions, the accommodation of having interview questions in writing, we tell companies like, look, this is just going to be helpful for all of your candidates. And there are three ways in which we suggest that you could ask for this. It could be having an interview questions in advance, like the day before, so that you can come prepared for the interview. It could be asking for the interview questions on the day of or upon arrival at the interview, or having it typed into the chat if it's a virtual interview. The one that companies are most comfortable to provide usually are upon arrival to the interview, because then they feel like it's not they're always worried about this unfair advantage. But I just tell them, look, everybody will benefit from this. But when it's just you advocating, that for you to know that that's oftentimes the one that companies most feel comfortable providing. And you can ask it in plain language without having to disclose also. So.
And we are always advocating for those skills-based interviews with the companies that we work with, because we know that they are much more equitable and just beneficial for both the company and for you, because you're able to show your skills. I mean, everyone can talk the talk, but not everyone can walk the walk. So it really helps when you can show your ability, show what you can do. And we've heard so many managers that have done skills-based interviews with us say, wow, that was so much better. I actually know that they're capable and can have confidence that I'm hiring the right person. So yeah, we're always advocating for those too.
Yeah, and actually, on that note, if you have a portfolio and you're in a looking for a job where you're able to have a portfolio to show samples of work, that is always going to be very much more effective also. And when you're networking in person with people, you can also bring up your portfolio. Like if you're having a conversation and say, oh, hey, like here's some of the projects that I've worked on. Just a really quick show of it will pique people's interest. It shows the effort that you're putting in and what you're capable of doing too, of showing those skills.
Totally. And I'm gonna talk about portfolios too and what those can look
Perfect.
like here. So another question, I do not have much formal work experience. What counts as experience and how do I present it in a way that employers take seriously? Okay, so if you don't have a long work history, you're just going to need to show evidence of your ability in other ways. So there are other things that count to employers. So what you might want to show instead, especially on your resume, is coursework from your high school or college. That can be listed on your resume. Any project, whether it was like a self-learning project or volunteering that you did. And again, you can find those online courses, platforms like Coursera, edX, LinkedIn Learning, Google Grow, Microsoft Learning. They offer a variety of professional courses that now you can go out, get those, and then put them on your resume. So you're meeting more of those keywords without necessarily having that formal work experience with an employer. Or if you're looking to switch industries, right? That can be, those online courses can help you gain necessary qualifications. Um, And I would say when you are sharing about these, it's important to be really confident. Show the employer that you can do the work, or you can at least learn how to do the work, because that that initiative that you're taking to go out yourself and learn and take courses is huge. And that should be what counts. So I would say being able to show your skills really matters. And then professionalism can just go a long way. Your etiquette on those first impressions, like applications and even back and forth emails. We want to be professional with those emails. Maybe AI can help you enhance your language a bit in order to be more professional. And hopefully that helps you learn over time too, so that you don't need AI as much. And now, you know how to format a professional email, but make it your own. And then again, about portfolios, one of the best things you can do is create a simple portfolio or just boost your online presence. Like Jessica mentioned, it's just necessary at this point to have a LinkedIn. So a portfolio could be something really simple, even like a Google Drive folder of projects. It could be a personal website that you make to tell more about yourself and your projects or interests. It could be your LinkedIn profile, a Tableau public profile some people will have, or there's even Canva portfolio. You can use Canva to create a portfolio and save it as a PDF. Those are all examples of how you could make your abilities and your work visible. So for example, for like data and tech roles, obviously a project could be something like data that you cleaned or a dashboard that you built, any code that you've written or results that you've analyzed. This can be put into a portfolio as one of your own projects and then showcased to others while you're networking or in an interview or on your resume as a link. For administrative roles, maybe if you're looking for those, you can even show examples of like spreadsheets and trackers that you've made, or documents that you've organized, or systems, anything that you've taken and organized or improved. That can be something that you show for an administrative role. Obviously, for creative roles, that's a bit easier, like showing graphics or writing samples, designs or videos that you've made. That I think portfolios in that industry has always been, you know, uh, pretty simple. But even for entry-level roles, you can show that you can, follow instructions, complete tasks, learn tools. These are things that you can write in a portfolio. Yeah. I am finished with this question. I see a hand up. Ira, did you have a question? If so, you can, yeah, come off mute or type it into the chat. Can either get to it now or we have one more question here before our discussion time. All right, I'll keep going
Maybe
for
we'll
now
come
and
back.
then, yeah.
Yeah, Danielle, something I just thought of as I was looking at this slide too, and as you were talking,
Mhm.
for the volunteering one, for us being a nonprofit ourselves, I would also encourage everyone to look at the nonprofit sector. If there are nonprofit organizations that you think are doing really cool work, and you want volunteer experience, you can always email the nonprofit and ask if they have any volunteer opportunities that might be related to what you are, wanting to build those skills in. If you're in data science, if you are in design or whatever it might be, if there's a nonprofit that has opportunities to volunteer, or you can ask them, that's a good place to go to also, because that's more common in the nonprofit sector. Not every nonprofit will have volunteer opportunities, but it's worth asking because sometimes there are. So just wanting to put another idea out.
Yeah.
I think we have two hands up right now.
Yeah. I think Ira was first. Ira, did you have a question? I see you're off mute now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I'm having some I was having some problem with the view, but I did want to ask if you could speak to how a job candidate should dress for an interview,
Sure.
whether it's online or in person. Because a lot of, you know, people have a very casual attitude and they step into something that is maybe more formal. Anyway, anything you could say about that?
Yeah, I would definitely say dress to impress. Like for men, maybe a collared shirt, even women, a collared shirt, or a blouse. Um, I You could wear a tie. I wouldn't say it's absolutely necessary now. But dress to impress, you even looking and feeling it looking better makes you feel better sometimes, and it feels like you're showing up for something really important. Another tip is just even if it's virtual, your background should be appropriate. For example, you don't want to be on a couch or like laying down in your bed. You want a simple background, nothing too busy, like showing your entire room even sometimes can be a little bit busy and distracting for interviewers. Um, and I know there might be certain situations where you do need to sit in a comfortable chair or specific location. That's okay. But if you can avoid laying down or being on a couch, I would say being in some sort of office or desk type chair, and yes, dressing professionally.
Yeah, and I would say overdressing is
Mhm.
always going to be the thing to do. We just did an interview at a law firm in person, and someone showed up in a tie and a shirt, and it
Yeah.
just looked so
Yep.
professional, like they cared. They had their hair done.
Yeah.
I think it stands out that
Yeah.
you're showing effort. And then I would just say for certain industries that are more formal, like finance, banking, those are still very
Yeah.
professional, in which case you will want to be in a full suit. But in most cases, as Danielle said, collared shirts, blouses, but look presentable. It does make a difference.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ira.
Yeah.
Kat, did you have a question? I see your hand up too.
I did. Thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, I love that you guys are here. I was
Thank you.
diagnosed with dyslexia when I was in kindergarten, which you can tell I'm older, so it was very rare. I've never used dyslexia as I don't know how to say it, but as a crutch in my career. Now I'm forced to look for a new job, and I do see that companies are now doing a screening for neurodiversity. I
Mhm.
really want
Well,
to come out and own it at this
yeah.
point in my career. I
Yeah.
feel like everything that I've gone through and my knowledge is a benefit to a corporation. Are companies filtering out anybody who selects neurodiversity on their application? So is that a red flag? Because I'm kind of still very sensitive to clicking that
Yeah.
because I want to be treated like any other employee without accommodation, although that's not reality. So I'm just trying to figure out how to navigate this. I know we're over time. Would love Jessica to connect with you offline and just get your insights.
Yeah, and we actually still have 30
30
minutes because
minutes.
we
Yeah,
wanted
we're
to
Oh,
good on
have this.
time.
Yeah,
oh,
to
okay,
have this
great.
office
Sorry.
hour time. No, that's okay. So if you're available, and I'm sure others here might have that question too. So thank you, first of all, for sharing with us, and your kind words. I when I love that you're owning it. And I also know that a lot of people who publicly share, have weighed the um, the impact of what that could mean. And there will always, unfortunately, be people who don't understand. But those are not your people. So it will help you to know who the people are that you do want to work for, and who understand and see the strengths of it also. Companies so a couple things. There are some company systems that will ask you in the application to self-identify. And usually it's because they're a federal contractor with the government, where there is a target of 7% of your employees to be people with disabilities, where they want to see more representation because it's just been such, the unemployment rate is just so high. And so some applications you'll see that. What is not clear, which I wish was clearer, is that when you check that box, and it could either be when you're applying or when you're starting a job, um, there's only one or two people in the company that see that data. It's usually HR, and they're just reporting it out. So the hiring manager that is working, that's hiring with you, they might not even know or see that data. And so at that point, then it's up to you to verbally share it if you decide to or not. And yes, I think I saw someone type into the chat too that legally, yes, you absolutely cannot discriminate, and that they cannot factor that into their hiring decision. So the same as like when someone's in an interview and shares that they're a parent and they have children, you cannot use that data to determine if you're going to hire that person or not legally. It's the same type of protection of you cannot use personal, information like that to make a hiring decision. So I don't know if that quite answers the question, but yeah, would be happy to separately connect on how you might, and actually it's a good idea for how we might do another webinar. How would you maybe share that, and then make that decision if you're going to or not. But I will tell you, there are hiring managers out there who I've met who have children that are dyslexic or autistic. And she's like, when someone shares that with me, I'm like, awesome. I want you on my team. So again, those are the people you want to find.
Yeah.
So I see both.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, I really would love to work for an organization that supports neurodivergence, not just dyslexia, but others as well.
Yeah.
But getting in front of and finding those people is a needle in a haystack. So
Yeah. And, unfortunately for us, it's harder now to publish our business partners too, because of the executive orders that have come out, that companies have said, we cannot have you publicly saying that we're a partner because any legal risk that they are fearing, which is
yeah,
very unfortunate right now. So just, yeah, to address that too, of why we only have some of our partners on our website. And we are doing a website refresh though in the next few months. So more to come there.
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so
But
much.
thank
I
you.
appreciate
We
it.
want to find those companies with you. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
And Ira, I see your hand up too. Did you have another question? Okay, we have one more question here, and then we're gonna open it up to more questions. And Alex, I saw your question in the chat as well, so I will definitely get to that also.
Yeah. And the Q&A too.
Yes, absolutely. So how do I manage burnout, rejection, frustration during the job search process? Okay. I would say first off, job searching is emotionally hard for everyone. So normalize it. Rejection is really part of the process. It does not reflect your worth. You are so much bigger than your job search, than even your career. So just please know that this is a normal part of it and it is a season. But to reduce burnout and frustration, there are some things that you can do to be proactive. So set limits. Don't apply all day long. Set a time limit and limit your daily workload. Your mental health and emotions around applying for jobs is very important. No one wants to do something that's just causing them so much stress and that they aren't enjoying. So, create that routine and that flow and that amount of time that you're setting aside per day or per week. And just allow that to be okay. Allow that to be enough. Okay. And then creating that structure is going to help. When you have those defined start times and stop times that I just mentioned, you can repeat it, and just know that you are staying in your routine, doing what you need to do. And then by creating those structures, you can see your progress more easily. You can check off what you needed to do that day, and you can celebrate those small wins, those applications sent, those conversations started, because remember, we're focusing on networking, and any skills that you've improved too. These are all growth. This is all growth that you should celebrate. So again, just normalize it. Know that you're not alone. Find community, whether that's through groups, or through these webinars too, reaching out to people, family, friends that you can trust and talk to about it. Like-minded individuals that are going through the process, I would say, would be number one that you can talk about it with.
Yeah, and I really want to emphasize that the community.
Yeah.
And if you're starting to feel alone or isolated, to go find a community or find a coach. There are career coaches on our talent website, which I will drop a link for also. There's some coaches that do services, and we'll need to update this list soon too, but there are coaches that you can find that can just, be walking alongside you, because we know that this is not easy, but to prioritize yourself and what you need, because we know sometimes it's a long process. So, and even if it's community that's just not related to work at all, like just something else to get some balance. So just want to emphasize that because we know how lonely it can get.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have a Google form, but I know that there's lots of questions right now, and we're limited on time. So let's maybe jump into questions if you're okay with it, Jessica, and we'll
Yeah.
send out that form. And at the end, reserve, 2 to 3 minutes because we would love to get your input. I'm going to share this slide here too if you want to follow us. My contact is on here, our website. I'll also share my contact in the chat. But yeah, let's get into this discussion and Q&A here.